Welcome, everyone, to the Q&A session for our upcoming course, Your Electric Body, the 7-week training to tune your biofield to raise your voltage and clear blocked energy. I'm Lisa Bonise, and I'm really looking forward to this Q&A conversation for the Shift Network. Now that we finally started, I apologize for the incredibly long delay. We've had amazing technical difficulties behind the scenes, but we're ready to go, and now we're going to go ahead and explore the teachings of Eileen McKusick and address questions about her upcoming 7-week course, Your Electric Body, which begins Tuesday, May 21st. And later, I'll explain how you can participate in this course, even if you can't attend the live sessions. But first, I want to introduce our guest. Eileen McKusick is an award-winning author and the founder of the Biofield Tuning Institute, a Vermont-based 501c3 nonprofit, which is partnering with the Consciousness and Healing Initiative and the Institute of Noetic Sciences to apply the scientific method of biofield anatomy hypothesis. The Biofield Tuning Institute is also spearheading the outreach program Tuners Without Borders, which seeks to bring biofield tuning to at-risk populations around the world. Having spent over 20 years researching the electromagnetic field that surrounds the human body, Eileen has meticulously mapped it, revealing the influence of magnetic fields on our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And based on her master's thesis, exploring the effects of audible sound on the human body and its biofield, Eileen's book, Tuning the Human Biofield, won the Nautilus Award and has received widespread acclaim. And in just a few minutes, we're going to open up for live questions. But first, I want to welcome Eileen. She's going to begin our call by demonstrating a grounding breath. Welcome, Eileen. I'm glad we're finally live here.
Hey, we made it. Hi, everybody. So we want to demonstrate a grounding breath. Now, in biofield tuning, even though I'm working with sound, a big part of why we work with sound is to free the breath. Because many of us hold our breath. We can go for weeks without food and days without water, but only a few minutes without breath. And that's because we're not just breathing in air, we're breathing in the electrified plasma of the plasma electric environment that we live in. We're breathing in prana, we're breathing in life itself. And we want to get that breath to spread throughout our whole body freely. So in this work, we have a very simple practice where we breathe into the belly, into the area that is behind and below the navel, taking a deep breath and filling that. And then when we exhale, we use our intention and our energy to direct that exhale down and out our tailbone and down into the earth. And you can also, if you're sitting, you can also send it down your legs and out your feet. And this is a big part of the work that we do is we find restrictions in the field in the body. We invite this big breath to come in and to create space. So let's just take a breath together into the area behind and below the navel. And when you exhale, make it an audible exhale and really feel that energy go down into ground. A big part of managing stress is staying centered and grounded. And this very simple breathing technique to just breathe into the belly and then exhale the energy down into the earth is really useful. And it can just help center and ground your energy whenever you need it. And that process of the vocal exhalation, when we go, that actually discharges the vagus nerve. So when we get all tense and our knickers start to go into a twist, we're tensing up that vagus nerve, and this kind of breath lets it go. So let's just do one more together and then we'll get on to questions. So good. All right. Lisa, are you there?
I am indeed. Sorry, Eileen. Thank you for that. Now we have the rest of our time together to dive into our viewers' questions for Eileen as we prepare for her upcoming course. Again, that's called Your Electric Body, and it begins Tuesday, May 21st. And if you want to check out the website and learn more about the 7-week course, you can visit yourelectricbody.com to see the full description. So let's go ahead and get started with some Q&A. If you have a question for Eileen, go ahead and type them in and I'll be happy to read them aloud. And in the meantime, we've got some questions already lined up, so I'll go ahead and get started with those. In fact, let's go ahead from another Eileen who wants to know, Eileen, what does a healthy biofield sound like?
Well, have you ever been somewhere, or maybe even in your own car, where the radio station that's on has static in it, and how that kind of puts you on edge when there's static, when there's noise in the signal? So an unhealthy biofield sounds like a radio station that's full of static, and a healthy biofield just sounds clear and bright and lovely.
Well, that's fascinating. Thank you for answering that, and thank you, Eileen, the other Eileen, for asking that. This is probably the most common question that people have sent in. A lot of people are concerned, and I even mentioned this earlier, about attending live. People are on the other side of the planet. They're just not going to be able to be here live. Let me read Fiona's question. She says, when you'll be reading the energy that's present, as you will be doing at the beginning of the call, each course, she says, what does that mean? And will that include those of us who have signed up for the course but cannot be there live?
Absolutely. So I've been doing these distance adjustments on groups for about 5 years now. And they're all recorded. In fact, we sell the archived sessions on our website. And they absolutely work. So my intention when I am conducting a session is that I'm working on the field of everyone listening live and everyone who will ever listen or watch at any point in the future. So even if you are not there, you are still there. And having gotten feedback from really hundreds, thousands of people over the years that I've been doing this, pretty much everybody says that they find the recordings just as powerful as being present live. In fact, I have a lot of people who never listen to my audios live, who only listen to the recordings because of time zones. And certainly I've had people who've done both, and they don't really feel a difference. You can listen to a piece of music that was recorded a long time ago and still be very moved by it. And it doesn't matter that you weren't there live. It doesn't matter. It's an event. It's a thing that happens, and it exists in the ether, that transmission is available for download at any time. So it absolutely does not matter if you are not there live, because you are there live.
Okay, so when you're actually reading the energy that's present, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's only at that very moment, correct?
No, it's because included in the intention of the creation of the hologram group field that I work with, that everyone who will ever listen to it, and this is quantum weirdness when it comes to time, that the future can affect the past. So you are infinite. And this is part of the learning of the biofield. If I exist out here, where do I end? And the answer is, I don't, and you don't. We are infinite beings. We are present everywhere all at once. We have a focal point, an experience of going through time, but on a very fundamental level, you're everywhere all the time. And that's what we work with. That's what we tap into. So the fact that we're not, the distance doesn't matter. I'm here, wherever I will be, and you're wherever you are. So just like the distance doesn't matter, neither does the time. It's still just as impactful. And your energy body is part of that hologram that I'm working with.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. Again, we had a lot of people asking this, so I wanted to make sure that we really drilled down there. We got a question here from David, who says, what kind of different types of disturbances do the different frequencies break up and move?
Well, to keep things simple, I generally just use one tuning fork when I work to do groups. I have a few others at my disposal, and sometimes I will pull them out. But the frequency that I'm primarily going to use is 174 hertz. And I've just found over the years, remember, I've been doing this for 23 years now, and I've played with a lot of different frequencies. And this particular one, 174 hertz, it's very useful. We call it the workhorse. It gives a lot of information. It doesn't go sharp or unpleasant. Some of the forks that I have can sound just a little bit like nails on a chalkboard sometimes if there's a lot of tension in the system. So it's, mostly we're just doing the work with one frequency, and that's sufficient. This is what I found, that it's not necessary to have lots of different frequencies in sound healing.
Okay, thank you. Interesting. We got a question here from Dana. Again, a frequently asked question here. Dana is saying, can this work be done on animals in a similar way? I work with rescue dogs, some of whom have experienced trauma, neglect, and abuse.
Absolutely. I mean, we work on animals all the time in different ways. We can work on an animal in person. We can work on an animal at a distance. I have people who play my audio sessions for their animals and have reported that that's been helpful. Or their animal will come and lie down with them while they're participating, and they'll report that the animal has a benefit. It's important to remember that I'm not teaching you in this course how to do biofield tuning. This is about you receiving biofield tuning and the coaching and education that goes along with it. So you'll get to watch me do the adjustments, but I'm not going to be teaching you how to do it on others or on pets. So I just want to make sure that's really clear for people. We do have one tuning fork called the Sonic Slider that I am going to show you how to use it on yourself here and there, because it's just a way to take the power of sound home. And people do use these on their pets. I've heard great stories about, just applying that vibration to pets, and it can help. So, you'll be able to do that sort of thing, but you won't be learning how to conduct a biofield tuning session on people or pets.
Okay, great. Thank you. Got a question here from Tricia, who says, can you clear blocked energy even if you don't realize where it's blocked? And then her second question is, raising your voltage different than raising your vibration?
So let me answer the second one first. For me, as a sound therapist, as a researcher, and as an author, I'm very particular about words. And what I've observed when people talk about raising their vibration, there's a number of things going on in that statement. One is this sort of notion that higher frequencies or higher vibes are somehow better than lower frequencies or lower vibrations. And that's not what we're really, I think, trying to say. There's a tendency, a number of tendencies. This whole idea of kind of going up plays into the tendency that people have to disassociate under stress. So we're going to ascend to 5D, or we're going to raise our vibe. And there's this whole sort of up and out kind of thing that goes along with that. Technically, there are vibrations in the universe that are light years across from crest to trough, like these unimaginably low frequencies. And remember, I said we're infinite and we contain everything. So you contain those incredibly low vibrations, and they're nothing bad that we want to raise ourselves out of. Okay. So from a sound therapy perspective, we're not looking to raise your vibration. We're looking to clarify your vibration so that you're clear, like getting that static out of the radio station. We're looking to find your vibrational sweet spot. If you've ever played tennis, you hit it just right, or golf swing just right. That feeling of being in that sweet spot. And what we actually aim for is not ascending, but actually descending into our bodies and really occupying our bodies right here and right now, without some trying to get somewhere or be good, or, we're just present and in that sweet spot. And there's no trying to get anywhere. And coming from our core, it's not really a heart-centered practice. It's really more about occupying our core, our own inner sun, and radiating 360 degrees from our own inner core. And again, that's effortless. That's not like a trying to raise kind of thing. It's just resting in our being and being in our true radiant self. And that, when we can get there, there's a number of things that happen there. One is a kind of contentment. It's not happy. It's just kind of present and content. And compassion arises from that place. So when we raise our voltage, we're raising the amount of electrical current running through our body. In our biofield, we have all these tangles and areas of resistance and stuckness and blocks that may be conscious or subconscious. So you asked about, can you clear something that you don't even know is there? Today I was the demo body in a class, and we found this whole energy that we all kind of sensed and felt was my grandmother, a grandmother I've never met, and all of the sadness that she had. And we inherit tonal tendencies from our ancestors. So if we had ancestors who were very sad, that is imprinted in our DNA, and a lot of research has come out now that really shows that we inherit the emotional experiences of our ancestors. So we might have tensions or impressions in our body that aren't even ours. They're just imprinted into our DNA and acting out in our body. And so we cleared this ancestral sadness and this associated tension that was in my shoulder that I didn't even know was there. So we can absolutely clear these blocks. And in the process of doing it, we free up areas of stuckness and resistance that is inhibiting the flow in our system. So as that energy is liberated into flow, our battery meter goes up. And then we have more energy. So people who've had a lot of trauma have a lot of these tangles in their field. Their energy is very low. And when our voltage drops, it's the same thing as having low pH. You become vulnerable to pathogens and disease because your body doesn't have the overall energy that it needs to keep everything running smoothly. It's like a company that's short-staffed with orders out the door, and there just aren't enough resources to make everything work the way that it's supposed to. So as we clear blockages and we liberate energy, our voltage goes up, the noise comes out of our signal, and we enter into that vibrational sweet spot. So we're not raising vibration to go to some high vibe ascending place. I don't buy into any of that. Like, I want you healthy and present right here, right now, 3D planet Earth, with all of its discomfort and a willingness and the strength and the ability to be resilient even in the face of that discomfort.
Okay, thank you. Beautifully said. Thank you. And you certainly piqued my interest when you're talking about ancestral stuff, because I just hosted the Ancestral Healing Summit, and I'm all about that. So yes, I was listening carefully to that. We've got a question here from Karina, who's actually asking a similar question. She wants to know, how does the sound affect DNA? Can it heal hereditary disease patterns?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way that I've come to look at DNA is that it's more like a musical composition than a chemical arrangement, and that it's very dynamic. In the biofield anatomy, there are two structures in the field that I call the ancestral rivers. And these are currents of energy that come down about 10 inches off the side of our body. So the left side holds like the DNA song of our mother, and the DNA song of our father is on the right. And when I stick a fork in that particular zone, you can hear the emotional timbre. What I use this phrase called energenetics, which is the tone of the song of our DNA. Because we don't just inherit hair color or eye color, we inherit tonal tendencies. And when we start to look at the body from this electrosonic perspective, depression is a low tone in the system. It's a kind of and that can be inherited. If your mother and your grandmother and her mother all had depression, then that tonal impression is in you, in your system. And a lot of us try to solve our inner discomfort at the level of me and mind. And we don't realize that the roots of that actually go much deeper. And you can't solve it at the level of me and mine because it's not really your problem. It's something that you've inherited. And the really cool thing about the forks is we can stick the fork right in that streaming musical composition. Here, when it's turgid or full of static or, full of depression or anxiety, these all have tonal expressions. And as we put the fork there, it's almost like a water cleaning filter. And as the DNA information streams by, the noise starts to come out of the signal. And all of the distortion that's present starts to resolve down into harmony. And in that moment, like evolution is happening in that moment where we are changing the song of our DNA, and it's going upstream and affecting our ancestors. It's going downstream and affecting our offspring. We see over and over again how people's parents shift, how their kids shift when they do this work on themselves, because it's like an unbroken chain, really going all the way back to the beginning of life itself. It's got so much information in it. And all of that distortion and all of that tension can just be tuned out, which is just so amazing. And there's a lot of associated physical discomfort that we have with this sort of noise and the signal that we inherited. And that resolves, and you relax and start to open up to your potential, and you're able to receive the gifts of your ancestors without having to suffer the noise as well.
Fascinating. Wow. Thanks. I would love to talk to you about this for days, but we should get back to the viewers' questions. We've got a question here from Steve who says, does using the tuning fork require intuitive abilities or being able to discern subtleties in the process, or is it more straightforward than that?
Well, again, I taught a class today, and that came up, people talking about intuition. It's another word that I really don't like to use. When I'm training people to do this work, it's very sensory. When I'm doing the tuning forks, when I'm going to be working and doing these adjustments, I'm feeling in my fingertips how the vibration is changing. I'm hearing the change in the tone. I'm sensing things in my own body. So I tell people I'm training you to be a technician and trust your own senses about what you're encountering. Like, let's not even put it into the realm of intuition, because intuition is one of those words that I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Are you talking about information coming from outside of me somewhere? Are you talking about kind of an amalgamation of all of my senses? Are you talking about something that I learned a long time ago that's become subconscious and I can just pluck that out? So intuition is kind of a weird word. It's not an easy word to describe. And so I just kind of take it out of the whole equation and just encourage people, the tuning fork becomes like a magnet. When it's vibrating, it's producing a very small electromagnetic charge, and it interfaces with these magnetic tangles in our field. So when you're moving the vibrating fork in and you hit a tangle, the fork will stop because there's a very subtle magnetic interaction going on there. And that's not your intuition that's telling you that. That's your senses. You're just feeling that grab, or you're feeling that turbulence that you've hit. So, there is an intuitive piece to it. In my mapping of the field, I experienced this curious phenomenon in the very beginning when I was really discovering the field, where I would hit an area of turbulence and I would get an intuitive hit in what I call my mail slot, M-A-I-L, like those little slots and doors. Like this little slot in the back of my head right here would open, and a little note would drop in, and it would say something like sadness, age 15. And I would say to my client, did something sad happen to you when you were 15? And they would say, oh, yes, that's when, my mom died, and then we never really talked about it, and da-da-da-da-da. So that was pure intuition, because that was coming from somewhere outside of me that I didn't know where it was coming from, and it was incredibly accurate, and it led me to be able to map the field. But that's not what I train people to do. It's already been mapped. You don't need to figure it out. You don't need to have a mail slot, although a lot of people do. I mean, some of my students have incredible mouth slots. This information is all encoded here. It's all vibrational information in standing waves. It's a language. And, having been exposed to it so much, I've learned a lot of the subtleties of the language. So, there's some things that are very easy to hear or to learn. Alarm, like if we get into a memory of like a car accident, there's that kind of spike that happens and the tuning fork will go really sharp. And that we're like, okay, that's alarm. Or like depression that I spoke about earlier, it's got this low tone. But again, that's not intuition, that's just pattern recognition. I teach my people like, hear that, that's this, hear that, that's that. So you don't need to be intuitive to do this work. You can just operate on a purely sensory basis, and it, and then you learn the language over time.
Okay. Wow. I'm going to sound like a broken record saying fascinating every time, but this is indeed fascinating stuff. Got a question here from Cece who says, if the thyroid is in the 5th chakra and I'm being told to have mine removed, how might that affect this practice?
Well, we've worked on lots of people with that don't have thyroids anymore. And, you can take things to help supplement that loss. I'd get a second opinion. I don't think it's ever a good idea to just hack out body parts that might be able to be resurrected by sound. I've definitely, helped people to energize and re-enliven their thyroids. Same with adrenals. I've worked on people where I come in and I'm listening to the signal of a particular gland or organ, and it might be really low or it might be, just about ready to go offline. But the sound gives energy, it gives levity, it gives focus. A weak thyroid is very often a consequence of not speaking our truth. And it's not an easy thing to do in our culture. Many people just shut up and put up, or they do something I call stuff and blow, which is like stuff and stuff and stuff until they can't take it anymore. And then they blow, but they blow with too much charge that is not appropriate for that moment. And they get pushed back. And then they're like, oh, I don't like confrontation. And they go back to stuff and stuff and stuff until they blow again. And it's just not a functional way to speak and to communicate. And I often say that the most important chakra that I work on is the throat chakra, because it's by our word that we create our life, that we create our health. I've had clients say to me, oh, I have Hashimoto's disease. And I'm like, who is Hashimoto and why do you have his disease? Like, why are you saying that? Because your word is creative. If you want to walk around and say, I have Hashimoto's and just be a victim of this, you can. But we want to speak what it is that we want. We want to speak creatively, understanding that every word is an affirmation. Every thought is an affirmation. And if you're not speaking truth, if you're not speaking what you want, if you're just speaking, oh, I'm fat, I'm broke, I have a weak thyroid, then that's what you're creating. That's the posture that is aligning. And so we want to be super mindful to energize our thyroid, to speak up, to communicate, to express. So, for somebody who's about to have theirs cut out, I would say, get another opinion, find a biofield tuner in your area, get a few adjustments, and commit to speaking only truth and see what happens in your life when you do that.
All right. Wow. Thanks. And if you're just joining us, we're here with Eileen McKusick learning about her upcoming course, Your Electric Body, which begins Tuesday, May 21st. And you can log on to yourelectricbody.com for all the details and to register. So let's get back into questions. We've got lots of them coming in. This is good. This is an interesting one. This is there's no name attached. The question is, how do you make sure that the fork is not reading the practitioner instead of the patient?
What we do as practitioners is enter into a state that we call hollow bone. And what we do is it's kind of like if you're talking to somebody, if you've ever had the experience where somebody is talking, but you're not really listening deeply, you're thinking about what you're going to say next. So you're not in a state of deep listening because you're not in alpha brainwave state of listening. You're in this beta brainwave state of thinking about what you're going to say. It's the same kind of thing. So we enter into an alpha brainwave state. We go into deep listening. And we take our field and all the noise and chatter in our field and we just settle it down, kind of put it behind us, and step into this place of service where we're just witnessing and being present to support whatever wants to happen. So I take me out of the equation as much as I possibly can and really quiet my mind and pay very close attention to you, so that your signal is what is coming through loud and clear. Now, I've certainly seen, with new students or people who are a little, having a kind of a bad day or a bad moment where they can't get in hollow bone and they are influencing the signal. But people learn over time to not do that. And it gets very easy to just go very quiet. And just, I can make my signal disappear completely and just really focus exquisitely on what I'm listening. It's a learned skill.
Okay, great. Let's do a question here from Dennis, who says, what is your daily self-tuning routine, and what is a routine that you personally never miss out on?
Well, again, coming back to, this sonic slider is a tuning fork that I invented to use on myself. I initially invented it to use it on my face and neck, and then I discovered that I could use it on my body. It's got a delightful vibration, again, having used a lot of different vibrations over the years. There's something about this when you activate it and you apply it, whether you're sliding it on yourself, and you could slide it over your whole body, and that's what I do. But you can also just, pause and put it on your sternum and hang out with it. It's just very harmonizing. It's energizing and relaxing at the same time. And it just makes you want to take a breath and feel good. When you're done with it, you feel like a cat that's been purring. You just feel full of good vibes. So, the sonic slider is definitely something that anybody can use. And what's cool about it is that you only have to use it like 5 minutes twice a day in order to get real benefits from it. It raises your energy. I mean, there's a whole list of things that users have reported to us that they have found it helpful with. Improved sleep, improved digestion, increased faster recovery from exercise, faster wound healing. It just goes on and on. I feel like this frequency helps encourage healthy cell division. That's the sense that I have about it. I also receive tunings pretty regularly from my students and practitioners. I think that, it's not just receive a few sessions and are good for life. It's just like you don't bring your car in for one tune-up and think that it's going to be good for the life of the car. We always have to do regular maintenance on our cars in order to keep them in tune and in shape and reliable. And our bodies are the same way. I think it's really, really important that we take great care of our bodies. Sound is certainly a wonderful way to do that. I also use body work. I get massaged pretty regularly, but I'm also on the road and in airplanes and traveling and doing work that is, ministering to other people. There's a lot of people out there who are caregivers who give and give, but don't take time to receive or to recharge. And having been somebody who's done that, haven't given from an empty tank, I come from a past of way overdoing and adrenal burnout and digestive misery and just unhappiness in general. And receiving tuning has really fixed all that. I can eat whatever I want. I have a tremendous amount of energy. I'm 50. I have, knock on wood, no health problems because my field has been so cleared. And when the field is clear, then the body, the field is like the blueprint. And if the blueprint is clear and shiny, then the body knows what to do to fix itself. So it's all the noise and the static and the resistance in the blueprint that the body's like, I can't read the blueprint. Let me spill the coffee all over this part, and I don't know how to recreate myself here. And that's when things start to go south and fall apart. If we fix the underlying blueprint, then the body just fixes itself. So another thing that I do that I think is really important is I sun gaze. I look at the sunrise if I'm up, sunset if I'm around. I'm a sunset chaser, and I'm always, gazing into the sun. I think sunlight is super important. I don't wear sunscreen. I don't believe in sunscreen. So I like to get out in the sun. I like to be grounded, barefoot on the earth as much as I possibly can. These are all things for taking care of our electric body, giving it light, making sure that it's grounded, keeping the blueprint in order, and having regular sound inputs to just help you to feel better. So those are all some practices that I do. I also love coffee too. That's a ritual of every day, 1 cup of coffee. And I think, that feels good for me too. So those are some of the things.
All right. Thank you. We've got a few people asking about singing bowls. Do they do the same thing as tuning forks?
Not really. A tuning fork is a very precise instrument, and our work consists of finding very specific areas of turbulence and resistance in the field. So a tuning fork will come in, will hit a very specific memory. Oh, look, you fell out of a tree and hit your head when you were 5. Douche, here's the record of that. And I'm going to stay here and I'm going to work with that signal until it resolves and irons out. So we find very specific areas in the field that we work. And some of these spots, you have to stay. I might stay in one spot for 5 minutes or even longer, giving the body the feedback of its own dissonance. It's like a biofeedback. And you're like, hey, body, look, listen how bad you sound right here. And the body goes, oh, yeah, that sounds bad. It's like the tuning fork is showing what's going on, reflecting that back to the body, and the body uses that input to basically auto-tune. So the body uses that coherent sound to bring itself into tune. It's very elegant, and it's very amazing to witness how the body has this capacity to relax down out of whatever tension is creating that noise in the signal. The body relaxes, the noise comes out of the signal, the resistance goes out of the body. And then again, come back into flow.
Okay, great. We've got several people asking about specific medical ailments, cancer, arthritis, etc. So I wonder if you can give just sort of a blanket response to how does this work with medical issues?
So, none of us are doctors, and none of us are trained medically. So we're really not qualified to work with any kind of specific medical issues. We don't have any protocols or specific approaches for any kind of illness. We work with the underlying energetic template. And very often we'll find in your record the precursors, the emotional or mental or situational precursors to that disease. The place where your field started to go south first. That blueprint started to get all blurry. And it might have been from grief. You might have a lot of grief and so much, but you still need to function and you can't really go there. And so all of a sudden you've got a frozen left shoulder. We're not going to go in and really treat the frozen shoulder. We're going to go in and we're going to work in the field. We're going to help you digest that grief. We're going to help that whole area of your blueprint to become more fluid, and then the body will just respond. Really any kind of medical condition is usually brought on by stress of some kind. And so we're going to work with the stress, the input of that stress in your record, in your memory bank, and get all that to settle down. So we straighten out your blueprint, and to whatever degree your body is able in that moment, whatever resources it has, it will adjust whatever is going on physically. Biofield tuning is contraindicated for people who are very ill. We'll treat mild to moderate anything. Anything becomes severe, we don't use it in palliative care or end-of-life care. We don't use it in person or even at a distance one-on-one with active cancer. Now, groups, I'm not so sure about. And I think that if somebody has active cancer and wants to do this, I would say you're kind of doing a science experiment. And I don't really know what that's going to do to you, because the work can be detoxifying in that where we have these areas of tension and then they let go, very often there's sort of a backlog of cell waste that hasn't been able to be processed because everything was so gummed up. It's like a neighborhood that the garbage trucks can't get to because there's a landslide, and the garbage starts piling up in that zone. And then when you clear the blockages and the garbage trucks can start getting in, all of a sudden there's this flood of garbage, that has to be processed and dealt with. And if people are very ill, their detox pathways, their ability to robustly manage detox is diminished. So we don't like working with people who are very ill because their battery is low, their system is weak, and now they're getting detox on top of it. And it's just not comfortable or pleasant. Whereas somebody who's in pretty good shape can manage a detox response, whether it's a couple days of mucus or a couple days of fatigue, maybe with some loose stools or something, but it won't take you down so hard if you are really sick. So if you're very, very ill, I would recommend not doing the program. If you're just a little ill or kind of ill or moderately ill, it will most likely be helpful for you. But I can't answer any questions about us treating specific diseases. We don't have any kind of protocol for specific diseases. We've certainly seen, reversal or removal of all kinds of, quote, medical conditions. Because once you get the body sorted, once you get the field sorted, the body sorts itself. But not if things have gone very deeply into the body. I really see this work as more of a wellness practice that's designed to get us well and keep us well, rather than pull people back from the brink of, when they've just gone so far into disease.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Looking at the clock here, we have time for a few more questions, but before we take those, I want to give a few other details about the course. Again, it's called Your Electric Body, and this is going to be just a powerful 7-week journey under Eileen's dynamic guidance, where you'll learn practices that you can use daily to shift the electromagnetic energy in your biofield to address pain, anxiety, sleep and digestive issues, and much more. And the 7-week course takes place on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, starting Tuesday, May 21st. And if you can't join us live, as we've already said, you won't miss the teachings. It'll work out just beautifully. You will also receive audio and video recordings, transcripts, and all course handouts on your course homepage. And also, I'd like to remind everyone that the Shift Network offers a no-risk money-back guarantee on all of our courses, giving you a full 2 weeks until June 4th in this case, to make sure that you absolutely love it. And as an added option, all participants are welcome to connect in a private Facebook community group so you can stay connected with one another. Also, everyone who registers receives the Your Electric Body bonus collection. First, you'll receive a 3-part audio series from Eileen entitled Food, Your Body, and Your Biofield. Next, you'll get a 3-part audio tuning fork healing series from Eileen called Raise Your Voltage. Then you'll receive an audio session from Eileen entitled Healing for the Spine. And you'll also get a video teaching from Eileen called Using Tuning Forks on Yourself. Plus, you'll get a 20% discount on the Sonic Slider tuning fork. And when you register by midnight Pacific on Thursday, May 16th, you'll receive an extra gift, and that is a set of 4 audio meditations from Eileen McKusick entitled Surfing the Now. So before we dive back in, Eileen, let me ask you, what are you most excited about sharing in your upcoming course?
Well, I'm excited because this is the first time I've ever done a video program. Everything I've done has been audio. I'm excited about the Q&A. I'm excited about the interaction with people and being able to, talk about the session after we do it. I'm excited. I think that this work it's really a shortcut. My mom used to always get upset, frustrated with me because she always used to say that if there was an easy way to do something, that child was going to find it. Because I don't like expending energy needlessly, and I'm always looking for the shortest distance between point A and point B, the easiest way to do anything. And biofield tuning, everybody says, my students say over and over again, especially people who have taken many kinds of trainings, they'll say, I've taken all kinds of trainings and nothing is as easy, as effective, as powerful, as fast as biofield tuning. And what's neat is that even in the context of a group, it can still have that kind of efficiency. Now, group tunings are great, and I'm going to share a lot of information because I've had this really unique perspective on the human mind. I've had my hands and my forks inside people's minds, and I've learned so much about the things that get in our way, the things that derail us, that self-sabotage us, that stop us from really living to the potential that we know we have. We all know that we've got this amazing potential in us. We all sense our own greatness, and there's a whole mountain of subconscious and cultural and family junk that stops us from really accessing and living that potential. And so this is a way to start, to clear that junk away and to amplify that true tone underneath. And it can happen very quickly. And it's not only that, it's a way of looking at life differently. We move from the world of solid, liquid, and gas into this new cosmology that has two more states of matter. We have plasma and ether in this. And when you think you're almost doubling the amounts of states of matter available to you. So suddenly in this new cosmology and this new understanding of our body as electric, of the world as electric, the space around us is electric, it gives us all kinds of new resources for problem solving. I talk about how I spent so many years in the self-help journey. I started when I was 18 and read books nonstop. Really hundreds and hundreds of books and programs and teachers and classes. And I was still, broke, overweight, unhappy, fighting with my husband, like all of that stuff, despite all of that education that I had availed myself to. It wasn't until I discovered plasma, until I discovered the fourth state of matter, the fire within and the fire without, and like the true nature of our being. Just even the idea of enlightenment is like the light in you is biological. And it's the same light that powers the sun, that powers this light, the electricity. It's all one electricity, it's all one light, and we're connected to the whole universe through the packet of light that we are. And it's in understanding that and having that resource of plasma, that understanding of my electromagnetic body, this understanding about sound, I've been able to solve all those problems, that I couldn't solve in the world of solid, liquid, and gas. No matter how hard I tried, I've been able to solve in the world of plasma and ether. And I'm excited to be able to share that with you so that you can get on with solving these problems, get on with your life, and get on to being the awesome, light-filled being that the world needs you to be, that you need you to be.
Well, that sounds awesome. Thank you. Good deal. Now, we've got, again, many people asking this question. You've already sort of addressed the idea of depression and anxiety, but you just sort of touched the surface. And we do have people asking, can this work with depression and anxiety? And how does it work?
Yeah, so it works tonally. So, depression is an undertone. It's a kind of, like it makes me think of Eeyore in Winnie the Pooh, like gray. It's just a tonal feeling, expression, movement in our system. Anxiety has like a kind of pulsing sort of quality. We can find with the fork where that signal of anxiety is. Like, whoop, here it is right here. And I'm going to hang out in it. I'm going to reflect that back to your body. Your body's going to go, wow, that doesn't sound right. And it's going to correct it. It's going to bring it into tonal balance. Same with depression. It'll bring it up. I've worked with many people who have depression over the course of just a few sessions. They're like, wow, I just don't even feel that anymore. It's not part of my inner composition. It's just not part of my inner composition. That instrument, that tuba that was, off key has been restored, and now it's playing properly in my inner orchestra. We all have the settings, factory settings of harmony in us. That's the beauty of the body. And you get stuck in these particular tonal expressions, no matter what they are. It might be chronic frustration. I'm just like always frustrated, or I'm always angry. It's just a tonal habit. And so simply by finding exactly where it is in the field, resonating with it, showing the body corrects itself. And it seems so ridiculous, something as simple as a tuning fork stuck in the right place for the right amount of time can shift these things, but it can, and it does. And I've seen it, thousands of times at this point, how people, just start to step out of the old story of like, this is my story, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm this, I'm that, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden, after just a little while, they're like, wow, I'm healthy, I'm empowered, I'm clear, I'm balanced, I'm grounded, I'm more in charge of what's going on in here and in here. You stop being a victim of these things. And honestly, most people with depression, anxiety, it's not your fault at all. We've been really conditioned to be like, oh God, I'm bad. I'm wrong somehow. These are consequences of inputs, whether they're ancestral inputs, whether, parental inputs, whether it's a response to the fact that, you went to school. I mean, that's the most depressing thing ever, going to school. You're inside under fluorescent lights. You're a kid. You want to be outside. You want to be running around. You want to be making noise. And you're like told to be quiet and sit still and move like this and be under fluorescent lights and put into a little box. And then you wonder why you're depressed and anxious, because that's not a healthy human environment. Most of us are not in healthy human environments. We're the consequence of what is, the inputs that we've had. And maybe you weren't exposed to harmony and beauty and effective problem solving, and you just had not good inputs. It's not your fault, and now your system is resonating with those inputs. So they can be changed. We can get you in tune, and just like you can get a car in tune, just like you can get an instrument in tune, we can get you in tune. You're designed to be in tune. And it's not as hard as, you don't need to be on meds for life. You don't need to talk to a psychiatrist for years. You just get some sound introduced in the system in the right way. Now, if something is really complex and it's been going on for a really long time, it's going to take more sessions than, just 3 or just this program. I mean, we can probably get a lot done in this program. But I think one-on-one work is a great supplement to this. So, by all means, enjoy what we do. But if you're really serious about your healing and your health, I would say find a practitioner as well and get a few one-on-one sessions too to augment it, and it will make it that much better for you.
Okay, perfect. In fact, you've already answered Tim's question. He wanted to know, does it take multiple sessions to clear some disturbances? Can you talk a little bit about that? What's the average? How does that work?
Well, it depends on a lot of things. It depends on how old you are. The older you are, the more calcified your patterns become, the more time it takes to kind of unwind them. You got your whole life of these repeating patterns, very often repeating pattern of abandonment or repeating pattern of this or that. And so, it takes time. If it took 60 years to put those patterns in place, I'm not going to undo them in one session. The thing is that if we're all identified with our pain body and our story of victimhood, or whatever it is that our story is, and it's our biography has become our biology, I can't just go in and pluck that structure away, because that is what you identify with as you. And so we can't just take away your pain if you don't have any inner reference point of that which is not your pain body. So every session that you receive helps quiet these perturbations and bring more energy online. And it also starts to give you an inner reference of how you feel in a neutral, tuned, balanced place. So it's a combination of sort of breaking down the old structure while building up the new structure of yourself in this sort of present, aligned, content, relaxed kind of way that isn't, resonating with all of these pain stories everywhere. You got to change the way you self-identify. And that, it just takes time. If the younger people are, the faster it goes. Some things can change very quickly. I've seen people's lives change in one session. I've had people come in, pain for 30 years, gone in one session. Massive anxiety disorders, gone in one session. I mean, that can definitely happen, but it can also, I personally have received hundreds of sessions, and each one builds on the one before it. So it's cumulative. So what my experience has been, and what I see people who receive regularly, is that you become lighter and lighter and lighter and more grounded, and your keel goes deeper and deeper, which means it takes more and more bigger and bigger waves to perturb you. So your capacity for managing incoming stress starts to go up. You just don't get bees in your bonnet like you used to. All kinds of stuff can be going crazy around you. You're just like breathing and grounding and being centered, and not going into the things that we go into, stories, knee-jerk reactions, victimhood. There's so many places we can kind of go off the rails inside. But when you learn, I think biofield tuning to me is really, it's a way of training your mind, because ultimately, whatever I can do with my tuning forks, you can do with your mind from the inside. I've learned I'm starting to list port. I'm starting to go in that old story of frustration or whatever, and I could just pull myself back into center now. So the more we work with the energy body, the electric body, the more we start to become aware of it from the inside, and we can start to feel when we're going into the rough and pull ourselves back in. Ultimately, I want you, love heals and your mind heals. Your mind makes you sick. Your mind makes you well. And biofield tuning is a great way to help you to start to train your mind so that you ultimately are the one who, you align with source, and you let in the love, and you bring yourself into gratitude. Right? I can do that in a session. I can get you all lined up and bring up that gratitude vibe and bring up that compassion vibe. But I don't want you dependent on me. I want you to learn how to do that yourself. And this is like a way, it's like a magnetic field training to get you to learn to know alignment, to understand alignment and neutrality, and start to be able to bring yourself there.
All right. Wow. Well, looking at the clock, this has been, I'll say it again, a fascinating conversation, but we're about out of time. I want to thank our viewers for hanging with us today through all the technical difficulties and for all your amazing questions. Once again, Your Electric Body starts Tuesday, May 21st. And again, you can visit yourelectricbody.com to learn more and to register. But before we cut you loose, Eileen, do you have any final words for our viewers?
Well, there's always a lot of things I feel like I can say. I will say that when I first started doing this work and I started discovering that underneath everybody's noise, there was this beautiful, harmonious, rainbow light body, that every single person that I worked on, when the noise was gone, and they were so beautiful and so great. And I was really surprised by that, and I had to think long and hard, why am I having cognitive dissonance around seeing this perfect harmonic beauty in everyone? And I realized that even though I was not raised in a religious home, that we have very embedded into our culture the myth of original sin. And most people are walking around believing, whether it's a conscious level or a subconscious level, that they're a guilty sinner, they've fallen from, we've fallen from grace. And that this idea of self-worth, at the kernel of almost every dysfunction I've ever encountered in people, is a belief that they're not worthy in some way. And that belief in sin, that belief that you're not worthy, is what creates the noise and the signal that stops you from being the perfect being that you are. We really are at our very core, we are a perfect symphony. And when we get to experience that part of ourselves, we get to pour that music out into the world. And that potential is in you. So I just want you to know, that you do have this sweet spot, and that we can get there, and that when you get there, it's to be in a state of gratefulness. It's easier to be kind and gentle and compassionate and patient and noble and all the things that you want to be, because that's what your nature is. There's just a lot of beliefs and stories and patterns and cultural programs. There's a lot of noise in the way. When we get that noise out of the signal, you get to be who you really are. You get to share the gifts of who you are with the world, and the world needs you to share your gifts. So I just want to honor that beauty that's in you and, help you to bring it to the fore.
All right. Wow. Great. Thank you so much, Eileen. It really has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for asking me the questions.
I could go on for days, but again, we're out of time. Once again, I want to thank everyone who joined us today and who hung with us. On behalf of all of us at the Shift Network, I wish you well and look forward to having you on this course or perhaps another one in the future. Have a great night, everyone.